So we have been graphing quadratic equations for the last week and a half, and today we're going to get into a third form called vertex form. So the first two we did was factored form and standard form. This one is actually a very convenient way of graphing quadratics, since it automatically provides us a vertex where we do not have to do any actual work to figure it out. So this is actually one of the nicest forms to go ahead and graph a quadratic. So we should not be surprised that this form is called vertex form, because we are given the vertex whenever we are given an equation in this form. So HK, so the numbers in that spot are the actual vertex of the quadratic equation. And we know that the A value is usually up front, so it's going to be right there. So those are the two things that we need in order to graph a parabola: the vertex and the A value, or the A value and the intercepts. But in this case, we'll be using the vertex. So just to fill in the section in green here, what information does A provide us? Remember, A tells us if the parabola is going to go up or down, and it tells us whether the parabola is going to be wide or narrow. So the larger A is, the more narrow the parabola gets. It gets skinnier because it gets stretched out. If A gets smaller and smaller, the parabola will get wider and wider because it's less stretched out. And on the pink bubble, what information does HK provide? It provides us a vertex of the parabola. Alright, so the general steps are: identify the vertex, HK. Now notice that on our formula, or the general equation of the vertex form, this has a negative on it. So when we identify H, it's the opposite of H, because it's negative H. It's not just the number that's there. So we have to always make sure we switch the sign on H, because it's the opposite of H. Opposite means switch the sign, opposite sign. So look at the equation, get your HK, which is your vertex. Once you have that, you graph the vertex. After that, you're going to be moving up or down from the vertex to get the second and third point. And you're going to move one to the left and one to the right, as we've done previously when we're graphing in standard form. So it's like standard form. It's exactly like standard form, except you do not have to calculate the vertex. It's kind of already given to you. Let's go ahead and do a few examples. So we're going to be doing these three examples right here. So we start by looking at our equation. So we see y equals, and the whole equation is right here. So we're going to go ahead and identify our vertex. So my vertex is going to be from these two numbers located in these two spots. So I switch H, which is going to give me a positive 2. And my K value, or my Y value for my vertex, is negative 4. So negative 2, negative 4 is my vertex. I go ahead and graph that, 2 to the right, 4 down. That's going to go here on the graph. So there's my vertex graph. Then I use my A value. My A value is up front, which is invisible 1. And for my vertex, I'm going to count 1 unit up, to the left, and to the right. And these 3 points will be enough for me to graph my parabola. So just connect it as best you can. Give it that U shape. Otherwise, it's going to be incorrect. Alright, now that I have my parabola graphed, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the blanks down here. Since the vertex is 2, negative 4, my A value is 1. Therefore, I move up and down 1 value, 1 unit, or 1 space. My next two points are to my right and to my left. So it's just that general order we've been following since we were doing the standard form graphing and discovered what A value does. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. Looking at our equation in vertex form, I get my vertex. Again, the opposite of H, which is inside the parentheses, is 4 and 7. My A value is negative 2. And I just realized I forgot to write the 1 over here. So we have our A value, our vertex, so we're going to go ahead and graph it. So 4 to the right, 7 up. That's where my vertex goes. I'm going to use my A value. I'm going to go down to left and right. So these are my 3 points to graph my parabola. This one's a little bit more narrow because it's stretched out a little bit more than the previous one. Let's go ahead and fill in the blanks at the bottom. So since my vertex is 4, 7, my A value is 2. Therefore, I move up and down 2 units or 2 spaces. My next points are to the left and to the right, and just 1 unit always. Let's go ahead and do the last one. Look at my HK for my vertex. Remember, it's the opposite of H, so I have to switch the sign. Since it's already a positive, it becomes a negative. Remember, opposite always. K always stays the same. We're going to go ahead and look at our A value is 4. So I'm ready to graph. So 5 to the left, 3 up for my graph. Here's my vertex. My A value is 4, so I'm going to go up 4, left and right 1. So this one's going to be even more stretched out than the previous ones because A is even larger here. So I have my parabola. Let's fill in the blanks at the bottom. Since my vertex is -5, 3, my A value is 4. Therefore, I move up and down 4 spaces. My next 2 points are 1 to the left and 1 to the right. And that's just the general idea of how we graph in vertex form. One more time as a recap. This form is actually the easiest of the 3 since you're given the basic information you need to graph those 3 points quickly and get them on the grid. All right, go ahead and start your practice pages and good luck.